Stop looking at your phone. Stop taking notes. Stop thinking about what's coming next, because in the next few minutes I'm going to share something that will make you question every decision you've ever made. It's a truth so devastating that it's kept hidden from schools, workplaces, and most personal development programs. The comfortable life you're working so hard to build. It's the very thing stealing your greatness, your careful plans and realistic goals. They're the prison bars holding you back from what you're truly capable of achieving. The phone rang at 3 a.m. In that moment between sleep and consciousness, she knew her life would never be the same. One call, one decision would alter everything that followed. Just like that call changed her world forever. Every decision you make or don't make shapes your destiny with the same unstoppable force. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to bounce back from any setback while others stay stuck in the same patterns for decades? The answer isn't talent, it isn't luck, it isn't even determination, though that plays a part. The real difference lies in something far more fundamental. The power of decision. Right now, in this very moment, you hold in your hands the most extraordinary power in the universe. The power to decide who you are, to decide what you stand for, to decide where you're going, and most importantly, to decide what you're going to do about it. Let me share something with you that might shake you to your core. Every single thing in your life right now, every joy, every struggle, every achievement, every regret, can be traced back to decisions you've made or decisions you've avoided making. Your bank account balance, that's the result of thousands of small decisions about spending and saving. Your relationships, they reflect every decision you've made about who to trust, how to love, when to forgive, and when to walk away. Your health, it's the sum total of countless decisions about what to put in your body and how to treat it. But here's what's truly extraordinary. None of those past decisions matter as much as the decision you're about to make next, because that next decision holds the power to change everything. Think about water for a moment. When water hits a rock, it doesn't stop. It doesn't argue with the rock about being in its way. It doesn't call a committee meeting to discuss the obstacle. It simply finds another path. And in doing so, over time, water can carve through mountains. Your decisions have the same power. They can either flow around obstacles or stagnate against them. The choice is yours. Let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. What decision have you been avoiding? What change have you been putting off? What conversation have you been dreading? What dream have you been postponing? Your answer to these questions holds the key to your next breakthrough. I once met a woman who had spent 20 years in a job she hated, 20 years of Monday mornings filled with dread, 20 years of watching her dreams collect dust while she collected paychecks. When I asked her why she stayed, she said something that haunts me to this day. I decided a long time ago that this was as good as it gets. Notice her words. I decided. She made a decision that shaped 2 decades of her life. But here's the beautiful truth. She could make a different decision at any moment. And eventually she did. Today, she runs her own successful business doing what she loves. The only thing that changed was her decision. Your life changes the moment you make a new, congruent, and committed decision. But here's the key word, committed. A real decision is measured by the fact that you've taken new action. If there's no action, you haven't truly decided. Consider this. Every day you make about 35,000 decisions. Most of them are unconscious. What to wear, what route to take to work, how to respond to an email. But hidden among those thousands of automatic choices are a handful of decisive moments that will determine the course of your life. The question is, are you awake enough to recognize them when they appear? Here's a truth that might sting. Most people spend more time planning their vacation than planning their life. They spend more time deciding what to watch on Netflix than deciding what kind of person they want to become. They invest more energy avoiding decisions than making them. But you're not most people. You're here because something inside you knows there's more. Something inside you is ready for change. Something inside you understands that your next decision could be the one that changes everything. Let me tell you about 2 types of decisions that shape our lives. The first type is decision by default, the non-decision. It's what happens when we let life happen to us instead of happening to life. It's the path of least resistance, the comfortable choice, the safe option. It's also the surest path to regret. The second type is the decision by design, the conscious choice. It's what happens when we take control of our destiny, when we choose based on our values rather than our fears, when we act from our dreams rather than our doubts. This is the path of growth, of achievement, of fulfillment. Which type of decisions have you been making lately? Here's a powerful truth. The quality of your life is directly proportional to the quality of your decisions. And the quality of your decisions is directly proportional to your willingness to make them consciously, deliberately, and with full awareness of their consequences. Think about the last major decision you made. Did you make it from a place of fear or a place of possibility? Did you choose it or did it choose you? Did you act or did you react? Most people live their entire lives reacting to circumstances instead of creating them. They let their past decisions dictate their future ones. They let their fears choose for them. They let their doubts vote on their dreams. And then they wonder why they feel stuck, unfulfilled, or disconnected from their own lives. But you have a choice right now, in this moment. You can decide to be different. You can decide to be more. You can decide to create instead of react, to lead instead of follow, to design instead of default. Let me share something with you that changed my understanding of human potential forever. In a small town, there was a high school student who struggled with a severe learning disability. Every expert, every teacher, every counselor had decided his future was limited. They had made their decision about who he was and what he could achieve. But he made a different decision. He decided that his disability would be his advantage. He decided that having to work twice as hard to learn something meant he would understand it twice as deeply. He decided that every obstacle was an opportunity to prove what was possible. Today, that young man runs a global education organization that has helped millions of children overcome their own learning challenges. What's remarkable isn't just what he achieved, it's how he achieved it. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't wait for validation. He didn't wait for circumstances to change. He simply decided to change his relationship with his circumstances. This brings us to a crucial understanding about the nature of power and decision. Your circumstances are not your destiny. They're simply the raw materials from which you build your future. The power isn't in the materials. It's in what you decide to build with them. Every single person in this room has faced circumstances that could have defined them. Every single person here has encountered reasons to give up, to settle, to accept less than what they're capable of becoming. But you're here because something inside you made a different decision. Let's talk about the anatomy of a decision that changes everything. It has three essential components: clarity, commitment, and action. Clarity means knowing exactly what you want and why you want it. It's not enough to decide you want to be successful. What does success look like for you? It's not enough to decide you want to be happy. What creates genuine happiness in your life? Without clarity, decisions become wishes, and wishes are nothing more than decisions without power. A woman once approached me after a seminar with tears in her eyes. For 15 years, she had been saying she wanted to start her own business. For 15 years, she had been gathering information, making plans, waiting for the right time. But she had never made a real decision. Why? Because she had never gotten clear about what she really wanted. She was in love with the idea of entrepreneurship, but hadn't decided what problem she wanted to solve, what value she wanted to create, what difference she wanted to make. The moment she got clear, really clear about her vision, everything changed. Within 6 months, she had launched her business. Within a year, she had surpassed her corporate salary. The only thing that changed was the clarity of her decision. The second component is commitment. Commitment is what transforms a decision from a preference into a promise. It's the difference between I'll try and I will. It's the difference between I want to and I must. When you're committed to a decision, failure is not an option. It's just feedback that tells you to adjust your approach. Think about a time when you were absolutely committed to achieving something. Notice how different that feels from when you're merely interested in achieving something. When you're interested, you do what's convenient. When you're committed, you do whatever it takes. This leads us to the third component. Action decision without action is like a car without fuel. It looks good, but it's not going anywhere. Action is what makes a decision real. It's what transforms potential into results. It's what turns dreams into reality. But here's what most people don't understand about action. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be now. The size of your action isn't nearly as important as the consistency of your action. Consider water again. A single drop of water falling consistently in the same spot can carve through solid rock, not because of its force, but because of its persistence. Your decisions work the same way. Small, consistent actions, driven by clear decisions, can create extraordinary changes. Here's the truth that might challenge you. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a year and underestimate what they can achieve in a decade. Why? Because they focus on the size of their actions instead of the power of their decisions. The most powerful decision you can make right now is to stop waiting. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for guarantees. Stop waiting for someone else to decide your worth, your potential, your future. Every moment of waiting is a decision. Every delay is a choice. Every postponement is a statement about what you believe is possible for your life. Think about the cost of indecision in your life. How many opportunities have slipped away while you were gathering more information? How many dreams have faded while you were waiting for the right time? How many relationships have withered while you were trying to decide if you were ready? The cost of indecision is often greater than the cost of making the wrong decision. Because when you make the wrong decision, you learn, you grow, you adjust. But when you make no decision, you remain exactly where you are. Let me share something profound about the nature of decision making that most people never realize. The hardest part of any decision isn't making it. It's living with it. That's why so many people avoid making decisions. They're not afraid of choosing wrong. They're afraid of being responsible for their choice. But here's the liberating truth. You're already responsible. Every non-decision is a decision. Every time you choose not to choose, you're still choosing. The only question is whether you're going to do it consciously and purposefully or unconsciously and by default. Your power lies not in avoiding decisions, but in embracing them, in understanding that every decision, even the ones that don't work out as planned, is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to become more of who you're capable of being. When you truly understand this, something remarkable happens. You stop being afraid of making wrong decisions and start being afraid of making no decisions. You stop waiting for certainty and start creating clarity. You stop looking for guarantees and start generating momentum. There's a profound moment that happens in every person's life, a moment when they realize that everything they've been telling themselves about why they can't succeed, why they can't change, why they can't grow has been a story. Just a story. And like any story, it can be rewritten with a single decision. Let me share something with you about the nature of transformation that few people understand. Change happens in an instant. It's not a gradual process. It's not a slow evolution. The actual moment of change happens in the blink of an eye, in the exact moment you make a real decision. What takes time is not the change itself, but the preparation for the change and the implementation of the change. But the change, that happens in an instant. The instant you decide, think about water at 211 degrees Fahrenheit. It's hot, but it's still water. Add one more degree, and suddenly it transforms into steam, something with enough power to drive a locomotive. Your decisions have the same transformative power. 1 degree of commitment, 1 moment of clarity, 1 decisive action can transform everything. What would you do differently today if you absolutely knew you could not fail? Really think about that. What decisions would you make? What actions would you take? What dreams would you pursue? Now, here's the real question. What makes you so sure you'll fail? What evidence are you choosing to focus on? What stories are you deciding to believe? You see, we all have 2 voices in our heads. One voice speaks of possibility, of potential, of what could be. The other voice speaks of limitations, of past failures, of all the reasons why not. The voice you decide to listen to shapes your entire life. Most people don't realize that doubt. And faith requires the same thing, believing in something you cannot see. The only difference is what you choose to believe in. You can decide to believe in your limitations, or you can decide to believe in your possibilities. The choice is yours, and it's a choice you make every single day. Let me tell you about a pattern I've observed in every successful person I've ever studied. They all share one crucial characteristic. They make decisions quickly and change them slowly. In contrast, most people make decisions slowly and change them quickly. Think about that difference. Most people spend weeks or months deciding to start a business, begin a fitness program, or pursue a dream. Then at the first sign of difficulty, they change their decision. They quit, they retreat, they go back to what's comfortable. Successful people do the opposite. They decide quickly because they're clear about what they want. Then when challenges arise, and they always do, they don't change their decision, they change their strategy. They change their approach, they change their tactics, but they don't change their decision. This brings us to a crucial understanding about the nature of decisions. A real decision creates a new identity. When you truly decide something, you don't just choose what you'll do, you choose who you'll be. Consider this. When someone decides to quit smoking, they're not just deciding to stop a habit, they're deciding to become a non-smoker. When someone decides to start a business, they're not just deciding to change their job, They're deciding to become an entrepreneur. When someone decides to get healthy, they're not just deciding to change their diet. They're deciding to become a healthy person. The power of this transformation lies in its completeness. When you decide to become something new, you naturally begin to make decisions from that new identity. A healthy person doesn't have to force themselves to exercise. They exercise because that's who they are. An entrepreneur doesn't have to force themselves to take risks. They take risks because that's who they are. But here's where most people get stuck. They try to take new actions while holding on to their old identity. They try to do what successful people do without deciding to become what successful people are. They try to change their results without changing their decisions. This creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, a mental conflict between who you think you are and what you're trying to do. And in this battle, identity always wins, always. That's why the most powerful decision you can make isn't about what you'll do. It's about who you'll be, because once you decide who you are, what you do flows naturally from that decision. Let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. Who have you decided you are? What identity have you chosen for yourself? What story have you decided to believe about your capabilities, your potential, your future? Here's the liberating truth. That identity, that story, that decision, you can change it in an instant. You can decide right now to be someone different. You can decide right now to be someone more. You can decide right now to be someone unstoppable. The world is full of people waiting for something to happen to them, waiting for circumstances to change, waiting for someone else to make a decision that will change their lives. But real transformation never comes from the outside. It always comes from a decision made on the inside. Think about the most significant transformations in human history. They all began with a decision to challenge the status quo, a decision to believe in possibility, a decision to act in spite of uncertainty. The same is true in your life. Every significant change, every meaningful achievement, every lasting transformation begins with a decision. Not a wish, not a hope, not a maybe someday, a decision. But here's what makes decisions so powerful and so terrifying. They reveal what we truly believe about ourselves. When we decide to play small, to stay safe, to avoid risk, we're not just making a decision about our actions. We're making a statement about our beliefs, about what's possible for us. When you look around this room, what do you see? I'll tell you what I see. I see untapped potential. I see unrealized dreams. I see unspoken words, unwritten books, unlaunched businesses, unmade art. But most importantly, I see undecided futures waiting to be claimed. Every person carries within them masterpiece waiting to be created, a mission waiting to be fulfilled, a destiny waiting to be decided. The tragedy isn't in not achieving everything you dream of. The tragedy is in never deciding to try. Let me share something profound about the relationship between decisions and destiny. Every decision you make sends ripples through time, affecting not just your future, but the futures of countless others. When you decide to stay silent, instead of speaking your truth, you don't just rob yourself of expression. You rob the world of your voice. When you decide to keep your idea to yourself instead of bringing it to life, you don't just deny yourself success. You deny others the value your idea could have brought to their lives. The weight of these unmade decisions, these unclaimed possibilities, these unopened doors, it's almost too much to bear when you really think about it. But here's the beautiful truth. You don't have to bear it. You can decide right now to release yourself from the weight of all those what-ifs and if-onlys. Consider this. Every great achievement in human history began with someone making a decision that seemed unreasonable at the time. Every breakthrough, every innovation, every revolution started with someone deciding to challenge what was possible. They didn't have any more guarantees than you do. They didn't have any more certainty than you do. They didn't have any special powers or privileges that you don't have. What they had was the courage to decide. But let's talk about something that often gets overlooked when we discuss decision making. The decision to accept responsibility, not just for your actions, but for your entire life. This is perhaps the most powerful decision you can ever make. The decision to stop blaming and start claiming. To stop blaming your circumstances, your upbringing, your environment, your relationships, your past decisions, or anything else for where you are now. To start claiming your power to choose, to change, to create something different. This decision, the decision to accept total responsibility, is like opening the door to a room you've never entered before. At first, it might seem overwhelming. After all, if you're responsible for everything in your life, that means you're also responsible for everything that's not in your life, everything you haven't achieved, everything you haven't become. But here's the liberating truth. Accepting responsibility isn't about blame. It's about power. When you decide to accept responsibility for everything in your life, you simultaneously accept your power to change anything in your life. Think about that for a moment. Really let it sink in. If you're responsible for where you are, you're also responsible for where you're going. If you're responsible for what you have, you're also responsible for what you can create. If you're responsible for who you are, you're also responsible for who you can become. This brings us to a crucial understanding about the nature of power and decision. Your power to decide never diminishes. No matter how many poor decisions you've made in the past, your next decision has just as much power as any decision you've ever made. Let me say that again, because this is absolutely crucial. Your next decision has just as much power as any decision you've ever made. Your past decisions may have created your present circumstances, but they have no power over your future decisions. None. Zero. Your next decision is entirely yours, entirely free, entirely powerful. There's what most people don't understand about decisive moments, and they rarely announce themselves. They don't come with fanfare and trumpets. They often appear ordinary, disguised as small choices that don't seem to matter much. Should you make that call or wait until tomorrow? Should you speak up in that meeting or stay quiet? Should you start that project now or wait for better conditions? Should you have that difficult conversation or avoid it one more day? These moments might seem small, but they're not. They're decisive moments disguised as ordinary choices. And how you decide in these moments, these seemingly insignificant crossroads, shapes the person you're becoming. There's a question that has the power to transform how you make decisions. What kind of person do I want to be? Not what kind of things do I want to have, or what kind of success do I want to achieve, but what kind of person do I want to be? Because here's the truth. Every decision you make is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. Every time you choose courage over comfort, growth over safety, truth over convenience, you're deciding who you are. And the beautiful thing about this is that it's never too late to become who you might have been. It's never too late to make a new decision. It's never too late to choose a new direction. It's never too late to decide that your past decisions don't define your future possibilities. Think about the decisions you've been postponing, the changes you've been avoiding, the growth you've been resisting. What if today was the day you decided differently? What if right now was the moment you chose to become more? Because what I know with absolute certainty, the person you are today is perfectly designed to get the results you're currently getting. If you want different results, you need to become a different person. And becoming a different person starts with making different decisions. But let's be crystal clear about something. This isn't about making perfect decisions. It's about making decisive ones. The pursuit of perfect decisions is often just another form of procrastination. The power lies not in making the right decision every time, but in making your decisions right through committed action. You see, most people wait to decide until they feel ready. But here's the truth that every successful person knows. You don't feel your way into decisive action. You act your way into decisive feelings. The confidence you're waiting for, it comes after the decision, not before. What if you decided right now to stop waiting? What if you decided that ready is a myth and now is all there is? What if you decided that your past decisions may have shaped your present, but they have no power over your future unless you decide to give it to them? Not tomorrow, not next week, not when the conditions are perfect now. In this moment, with your next decision. Because that next decision, the one you're about to make, holds all the power you need to transform everything.